So next up, we're going to have Joe Lee, who basically had a rug pulled up from under him many years ago, and turned that around and realized that what he needed to do was figure out a way to make it happen for himself. And many of us talk about entrepreneurship and it happening on our own time. Well, sometimes it doesn't happen on our own time. And I think a lot of people actually jump in too early to it when they could have been approaching it kind of in the moonlight hours of the night. So Joe, if you're ready, we're going to hear you. Looking forward to this. But the key is, when the rug comes out under you, you still control your own destiny. And Joe is going to tell us how he did that.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. A big difference standing up here. Definitely, thank you. He said that lightly. But before I get started, I'll ask you all one question. And the first word that jumps out to you, just say it. Somebody blurt it out. When you hear the word hustler, what do you think? Okay. All right, good. Born and raised in New Orleans. Made my way to Washington, D.C., and then here in Virginia Beach for the last 9 years. I don't talk about my life much, coming from New Orleans. I'm great at giving presentations, but that's about it. So I'll spend about the next 7 minutes or so kind of just talking about myself and background, which is going to be a segue into 3 points that I'm going to talk about, which is motivation, dedication, or determination, and sacrifice. The end result of that is going to be where JLGov is today. I'm the CEO and president of JLGov LLC. Joe Lee, born and raised in New Orleans. The term hustler is really an enterprising person that seeks to succeed at no cost. Or it doesn't matter what your environment may be. And it's really about how you adapt. It's a go-getter. All my life I've thought about that. I was a young football player living in the projects of New Orleans and living by the streets of New Orleans to just get by and get out of there. I always said that you have to find a way, and you always have to adapt to your environment. Just because things are happening in your environment doesn't mean that you have to live by that life. And when you talk about that, I've gone from giving up football scholarships to 2 of the biggest colleges south of the border to take care of my family. You're looking at a guy who came up as sort of the household dad, if you want to call that, of 4 adults and 3 kids, and I was at the age of 15. So I've taken those roads and I've built them into something. New Orleans is a great place to live. And living in New Orleans and talking about it and talking about my life is a little bit sensitive. And people often ask me that. And I can never get it straight. So this is an exclusive if you got your Twitters out and you're, this is the first time ever. The first time ever that I've actually talked about it was with SBA when I had to write my owner narrative. So I gave some real details about it. So with that being said, I'll fast forward a little bit. Left New Orleans in '91 and moved up to DC. Drywall, manager at Pizza Hut, mechanic, worked in a law firm, worked at the mayor's office, finally got into IT. Had 2 security clearances from the big letter agencies. During my time in New Orleans, I had some run-ins from the streets. I'm no angel. I'm human. And in most times, I run like a robot. And my employees say that, my friends say that, my family say that all the time. And I had to just push forward. Lost my grandmother when I was very young, in the room with me. Lost my grandfather years ago after that. My mother had to survive as best she can to keep the household up. She had to quit her job, take care of him. I became the breadwinner of the house. I had to find ways, by any means necessary. Years later, '97, my mom lost her life, massive heart attack. Had to keep going, send money home to the family. Figure it out. During those times, I'm still working. I was blessed by higher power that the run-ins that I had back in New Orleans didn't follow me. I made it out. You often ask yourself, what do you want to do next? You want to get out of the gumbo pot of New Orleans, even though the food is good. You want to get out of there, and you want to make it somewhere. There are a few people like that. A few people stay there. It's just because. New Orleans is New Orleans. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people, and good food. But if you want to do something, you got to move out. And that's what I did. So even though I had to let go a major football scholarship, I had a second opportunity when I moved up to Maryland. Moving up to Maryland led me to a law firm, led me to 2 jobs working at a Heckinger's, which is sort of like a Home Depot, manager at Pizza Hut. So I was really pulling like 80, 90 hours a week between 2 jobs. From there, I got into a law firm where I was in the mailroom. I worked my way up through the ranks there too as well, and still had the job at Pizza Hut, so I still was pulling 80, 90 hours a week. From that part, life just moved on. Helped people along the way. Helped a particular family one time, just at Christmas. Mother had sickle cell, kid was bipolar, another kid had autism. I brought Christmas to their doorsteps just because a friend asked me, and I could. I think the most biggest asset that I could add to anyone is that I employ them to sit on an oak like I did, just like an owl in a tree, and just listen to the people that you come across. I've come across a number of people in my life, and I've taken all of that advice and I've crafted it into my own in how I make decisions in life and how I move forward. So did it stop there? No, I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Got to Maryland in '91. My relatives heard me talk about going back to school or not being able to live the life I wanted to. They said, well, stay at the house, go to school full time. I went to University of Maryland, walked on to the football team. There I made the team. It was great, lovely. Transferred up to Rowan University in New Jersey. That was great. Played semi-pro for 2 years, or 3.5, really, till ankle injury. And then after that, finally, went back to Maryland, got my degree in Management Information Systems. And then I also completed my degree several years later in my master's degree in cybersecurity. So I've had a long road. I've done a number of things. To me, the word can is not into your vocabulary. Failure is not an option until you've tried many things, for me. And that's what I've done over the years. I've tried many things. You talk about leadership. Leadership, you have to be able to listen and learn yourself. And you have to be able to look in the mirror and take from those below you, your subordinates as well. So when you think about my life, yes, I've ran the gambit to try to be successful as much as I can in every part of life, in every aspect. And it's hard. And you have to have that will to continue on. So my first bullet is motivation. When you look at that and I think about it, I think about how far back in my life that I can see is how far clear I want to see my future. And that's what I think about all the time. And all of those things that have happened in my life, that's the motivation. When the rug gets pulled from under you, that's the motivation. In the early 80s, you come up in an environment where you're told that, oh, you know, Joe, you're just not right for the culture as a manager. You don't wear jeans to work like everybody else. You wear the casual slacks, the button-up shirt. Joe, I just don't think that you're ready yet. How many times have you heard that? You know? These are things that haunt me. And it makes me who I am today. I moved to Virginia Beach about 9 years ago. You talk about determination and finally somebody recognizing what you've done. I was working for Symantec, Antivirus Corporation. The manager came to me and said, hey, I have a dual role if you want to learn storage and the security side of the house. I packed my house up in 30 days. I was here. I didn't wait. I left. So I came here. I got to Virginia Beach. The first thing I did after a week, I walked into the Department of Human Services. I told the coordinator there I wanted to give away $1,000 to 1 or 2 families. And they said, okay, come on in. What's the name of your company? I said, no, I'm just an individual that just wants to give some money away. And they just looked at me. And so they decided to go ahead and work with me in that capacity. They have a holiday project that they offer every year between November and December. And I became a sponsor since then. And so every year, I've built that up every year. I'm up to 30-something families right now and over 70-something kids that I've personally funded Christmas for. Every year, with 1 or 2 years in between it, I didn't, to get myself back on track. 2012, Symantec pulled the rug from under me, right? Not really, but it's the turn of the economy, right? So it laid off about 2,500 people. Finally, I was a part of that rift. 2 weeks before the actual event that I was providing. 12 families, 2012. So, and it's like the show must still go on. So it happened, it still happened. I said, I'm not gonna be depressed. I'm not gonna be worried. It's gonna happen. I smiled. Friends, partners, other colleagues of mine said, hey, we're gonna help make this happen. And he did. They stepped up to the plate. And I'd never really asked anyone for anything. I'd always organize with the families. I go spend time with them. I find out what their needs were. I gave a major shopping spree. I had a party in my house. We wrapped those gifts. We took it to those family houses personally. They made it happen. So when you think about it, it's about giving. And it's about having a purpose in life. What my purpose is, I'm still searching for that. And someday I'm going to find it because I create the path to my journey. I don't follow someone else's. We all wake up and say, hey, I'm going to follow your path. I'm going to follow your journey. No, create your path and take the journey. 2012 was a hard year. Unemployed. Big time. Unemployed. So I said, okay, I took my severance package. I took the savings I had and everything else I had in the bank, and I looked at what that's going to look like. And I decided what I was going to cut back in life. Every aspect of my life, I cut back that I didn't need. I cut it all back. And finally, I took a company that I started up in 2009 that just set because the economy just tanked in 2009, which was a property management company. So finally, I took that and I started up JL Gov. And an attorney, husband of the wife that I worked with at the Department of Human Services, called me for lunch and said, hey, you've got so much motivation and you're determined to be successful. My wife talks about you all the time. It's almost like you two are dating and we're not married anymore. So I'm like, hey, I'm not your wife. So, and but he loved the things that I did to help her at the Department of Human Services. And so he decided to work with me and help me get JL Gov started and push forward. Got me an unofficial mentor that provided a office space that sits in the building off of Newtown Road right now in the building for cerebral palsy. And he said, we're going to work on a lease. Don't worry about it. If you could take this place and fix it up, make it your home, it's yours. I developed everything in that office. I was very resourceful. Friends, colleagues, Craigslist. I painted it all. I did it all, laid the carpet, the whole nine. Motivation, you know, it's huge. Those are things that motivate me. Determination. It's not giving up. It's not giving up. I'm a big fan of Einstein. The biggest thing you can do to hurt yourself or lose at anything is not try something. There's a picture that I often see that's associated with Einstein with a tree. And there's a fish right there. Right? If you tell a fish that he can't climb that tree, he'll go through life thinking that he's stupid. Do many of you catch that? The moral behind that is that he's not going to fail. He's going to actually succeed at something. And he's going to succeed at knowing that, hey, I've tried and tried and tried again to get up this tree, but I couldn't. So it's time for me to move on. So he was successful at knowing that, hey, I'm a fish. I can't climb a tree at the end of the day. And so it's huge. And it takes some time to understand things about that in life. And that's how I look at everything. And that's how I take an approach to it. I'm very hard on my employees. I push them just as hard as I push. Liz talk about 2 o'clock at night. Sometimes I'm 3, 4 o'clock and I'm back up at 6:30, and sometimes I'm right to the gym at that time. You know, how do you do it all? You ask the question. You know, how do you balance it? You know, honestly, they say no sleeping on the job. You know, I take a power buzz. I sit back in my chair from time to time. My employees say, "Hey, Joe, are you okay?" Sometimes I need the Snickers bar because I'm a little bit grouchy, and they know, and they know when I'm having a rough day. So, you know, and it's every day. It's every day. Throughout this journey from 2012 to now, it was hard that first year building and trying to build JL Gov. You get the no's. The same time, I decided to go back to school at night online to get my master's in cybersecurity. Thirdly, I decided I needed some type of income coming in. I started working a night job at the airport at FedEx, chugging boxes. So when people tell me they can't, they haven't tried. They give me the excuses. They haven't tried. They give me more excuses. They haven't been resourceful. And you have to utilize that. Being an entrepreneur is hard. You can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have to put both feet in the pool and get wet. Today, I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I wrote some things down, and now it's just starting to come out. But, you know, I owe it all to my mom. She was a hard woman. She raised 2 boys. No father in the household. She worked till she couldn't work anymore to take care of my grandfather. I owe it all to her. And I'm still pushing to this day because I'm not done. I've made her happy with my education. I'm now trying to be successful for myself. And I won't stop. I have grown JL Gov from 0 to 170% over the last 3 years. That's because of integrity, that's because of the service, and that's because of word of mouth. And those are some of the biggest things that you need as a small business owner or entrepreneur. You just have to push, and you have to be resourceful. I take from everyone every day in how to run my business. I went from a tech guy to being the CEO of my company. I don't have all the answers, but I have the vision, and it's about putting good people around you, as Liz said. And as a testimony to that, you know, Myra Williams, she came to me as a temp admin. She pushes hard now to learn JL Gov's business. She's now become my business account manager, and she's learning every aspect of the business. She didn't know anything about IT at all. I take time with her to talk about different things, some strategy. I sit down and coach her. She now knows what an IP address is at the end of the day. So, big change. So, the sacrifice. I left home. I gave up my football scholarships. It takes a toll on the social life. I gave myself health issues in 2010. Just running up and down the highway, 2012, 2013, just running, headaches. I wasn't eating right. Working out, building a business, 4 hours of sleep. It takes a lot. You give up a lot. And in the end, somebody says that success is valued or looked at by the things that you have, the material things, the big house. No, success is really about the sacrifice. You give up a whole lot. You give up your friends sometime. You give up your families. You give up your spouses. You know, it's hard. And if you're going to do this, you really need to put both feet in, and you need to be realistic about yourself. If there's one thing that I would have did that was different when I got started, I would have owned some of the relationships that I had during the time that I was working for some of the companies. And instead of 100,000 or two, maybe put 400,000 in the bank. But hey, you know, the time was right. It called. I had a business that was just sitting dormant. I was working for a company for 7 years, and I was on the road all the time. And I took all that knowledge and experience, and I decided to finally jump in the pool. So, sacrifice, motivation, determination. That's the end result of having the skills, the experience, the time, and the passion. And fifth, by a greater being, having a purpose. Having a purpose. Give back what you want to receive, and sometimes twice that. So what I've done in the community, those have come back to me sevenfold to assist me with JL Gov, but not only that, but with me in life. We all have equal parts of salt in our body, and we all come from a place that we all will return one day. And people say that I'm a thinker. I think that I'm just a visionary to see farther beyond, while the rest of the world we're bifocals and see everything close and up front. So I thank you for that time, and or this time, and I'll take the questions. Back row.
You had mentioned that having a mentor was important. What type of impact did it have? And it's a two-parter. And what sort of guidelines did you put in place to essentially hold you both accountable?
So, good question. So right now, and in the beginning, kind of unofficial mentors, right? Along the way, providing the guidance, things that I should watch out for as I begin to start my business, direction on places to get the resources from, or to look for resources, helping ensure that you start to structure some of the business correctly, instead of spending the time looking for all the different resources. So that was good from a number of good, close people that I know that are in business. And now, to kind of answer the second part, because of what I've done so far in my business and getting my company 8A certified, which is a huge thing for small businesses. I have a company, a partner company that I'm working with right now, and guy drove from North Carolina just to come down and sit with me and talk about things. And we need to entertain a mentor, an official mentor-protege relationship, which is governed by the SBA. So we're talking about that now and how we need to structure that, because there are guidelines with the SBA that when you get started up, you definitely need to get registered. Every small business owner and entrepreneur, you should get registered with the SBA. They provide the training classes. They provide the resources you need to understand about a lot of aspects of your company and what guidelines that you'll probably need to follow. Ray.
As an athlete, you obviously have got a lot of experience working with teammates and all. How do you bring that experience to your company to build your business?
Right, that's a good question. I actually was writing about that last night. So again, I had to put that paper in the trash. It just wasn't going to work for me. It was a long piece of toilet paper too. Just kidding. No, that's it. It's about the team. It's about the team. I got my best asset in my company right now. The thing that you're going to learn is that people are going to come and go. In my business, you have to be lean and mean, just as Liz mentioned. You have to be lean and mean, and it takes a team, and sometimes people can adapt, and you've got to try to coach. The biggest thing you have to do is coach and be open to hearing the other players on the team. With Myra, we spent some time with that, and sometimes I go to her and I ask questions. So I don't just dictate, or I don't just throw out things to her. I ask for her opinion and feedback. So really, when you look at a team, together each achieves more, and you have to remember that. And that aspect of team and coaching and going over the playbook, which she's developing one of the playbook for our new solution that we've just released to help companies like yourself that doesn't have an IT guy. We can remotely manage and monitor your environment. So that's one, yeah. So, and it's, and that's one of the things. And she's come into that and she's developed that. And this is where a small business owner can help other small businesses, though we're going after the large contracts. But yes, it's all about the team. And it's being able to take that input from your subordinates and said, okay, yeah, I'm the coach. Okay, got it. You go back and you mellow on that, and now you come up with a new plan and say, is this good? Do you think we can get it done with this? I like the plays. Okay, let's go, Myra. Let's do it. I think that's the biggest thing that you can do. Next question.
What's next for you?
Podcast, yes. Podcast. really, I've gone from 0 to 170%, and I'm still moving. The people along the way who've watched me and followed me and said, Joe, you've covered a lot of ground in 2 years that most big businesses hasn't covered. The status that you've gotten behind your company, growing the company with small, little opportunities, making relationships, every aspect of your company. I think for me now, the next phase is getting that long-term opportunity moving forward into 2017. Stronger relationships with my partners. The marketing aspect, the biggest thing that most entrepreneurs and small businesses do not include when they think about how much money do I need to start my company. You can start a company out with probably about $200, $300 at the end of the day. But the operating side of it is what we don't think about. Marketing is something that, from an IT perspective, it's a big overhead for a small company. And you have to do the best you do. I'm up 2 o'clock in the morning. I do some marketing. I switch gears. I start calling customers, emailing customers 3 in the morning. I don't care. I email them. I chase and look for opportunities. At the end of the day, I get up again. I'm back at it, and I figure out what's next. So marketing again. We look at the social media side of the house and trying to figure that out. I found a good program that works for me right now. Hey, Execute. You're not up there, but thank you. Hatch is great. This was a great forum, and I use PR Flight now. It's Benchmark has taken me to a small business feel like HGTV to looking like a big company right now with our PR Flight page at prflight.com/JLGov. Look at that. And you can see one of our major projects and services that's offered to small businesses and large businesses as well. So 5 years down the line, 10 million, selling the company and starting up another one.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Exit strategy. That's kind of what I'm thinking about by 2020. And then I get the envelope to open up that's in my little personal box at home that I put away in 2013. I have an envelope that I said the things I'm going to accomplish, and then I'll open that box. I'll open that envelope up. Next question. Going once, twice, 3 times sold. Come on, give it up. You can do better than that. Come on.